Hey,
We play to learn. It goes right down to the innate instinctive nature of a human being. We play to learn. Watch a 2-year-old or a young child as they play. They're curious. There's no rules. They just explore and they do things that you would think, you ever heard like play like a kid, play like a child? We've been trained not to play like that, or we grew out of that because we think there's consequences to play. But true play is play. There's no rules. And what happens is you have the freedom to fail and you have the freedom to explore, and there's no criticism and there's no correction and nothing, just play. So, and what kind of strikes me as odd, just kind of tie in the whole AI movement right now, what you know, or whoever's listening, where you are with your AI skills today with the different tools that you might be playing with. How did you get today if you didn't play with AI? You played with it. You practiced different prompt ideas. You were curious. You want to explore this idea. You want to do that. So you don't even realize it, but you are innately natural attracted to play. But when we use the word play in corporate workforce learning, it all of a sudden becomes a 4-letter word, right? Well, we can't play. We're adults. You play every day. You just think about it. You play every day. You play around with a recipe when you're kind of coming up with a different dish. You follow a recipe to get it out the first time. You think, I'm going to play with this recipe a little bit. I'm going to swap out this ingredient. Or you're gardening, and this year it's like, I don't like the way this arrangement is. I'm going to play around with the landscaping and see if I can come up with a different idea. That's play. And games are the same way.
hey, welcome to GameLayer, where we explore the science of play and the quest of learning. I am your host, David Colmer. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Welcome down to GameLayer.
I play piano.
I play chess.
I play everything.
I play games of my own invention.
I'd like to move to the domain of play.
How is building and maintaining a business similar to playing and winning a game? Season 2 delves into casting the business owner card, exploring the entrepreneurial play. Dr. Kevin Thorn, I really appreciate you making time today.
You go by DK or just Dave?
Yeah, DK is good. DK's good. Or a lot of people call me Colmer, actually. Colmer. That was my handle in college, because there's a lot of Davids out there.
There is a lot of Davids out there. Colmer.
Not as many Colmers. Yeah. So, and in high school I went as Colmer as well. Just because, again, there's a lot of Davids. Yeah,
last name. Well, first half of my adult life, military, we were all addressed by our last names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can call you Dr. Thorn.
You can call me whatever you want.
Well, you said Kevin on the
that's fine
visual here, so
I don't care.
I'll call you Kevin. So where are you originally from? I'd like to kind of just start with, your beginnings and where you identify as now that you've landed somewhere.
I had to laugh because Steve Martin came to my head just then.
All right, let's go with that.
Well, no, that I was born a small child in Alabama, kind of, but it was from the movie The Jerk, I think it was.
I was going to say, isn't that from The Jerk? Yeah. Yeah. He finds his special purpose in that movie.
No, I was born and raised just north of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So ran away from home, age of 19. Chicago's a beautiful city. I love it. I love visiting there, but I just can't live in that dense population anymore. It's just, I don't know if it's not social anxiety so much it is population anxiety. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to school in Illinois. I visited Chicago a lot, so I know exactly what you mean. It's a pretty busy town.
It's an amazing city. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot to offer, right? A lot of culture. But also, just a lot of
and
people.
Where I live, closer to the state line of Illinois, Wisconsin, because all my kin is spread out in like northeast Illinois and southeast Wisconsin, and then spreads all the way through Wisconsin up to Minneapolis. And then I would visit family in Milwaukee, and then we would go like south of Chicago. I mean, you can go from Indiana to Wisconsin and not realize you've left one neighborhood to the next. I mean, it's just that dense wrapped around that lake right there.
Sure.
With Chicago kind of anchoring in the middle between Indiana and Wisconsin. It's great. Don't get me wrong. The food is amazing. The culture is awesome. I love the Greek culture in Chicago. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of urban sprawl. We
The
were looking for something new to do. We went on the east side of the lake and went to Holland, Michigan. It's just like a little town full of windmills.
Michigan, East Lake. Yeah.
Am I right? Did I say it right?
Yeah. I can.
Yeah, it's a
Pardon
nice
the
area. All the sand dunes, right? It's just so cool that we have a
the
lake
sand
that
dunes,
has
right?
massive sand dunes.
Yeah, those are
We
awesome.
were there for 4th of July one year, just hanging out in the sand
it's like
dunes.
this
with a cooler.
underrated little place in the middle of the upper
seriously.
Midwest, and you don't think of sand dunes in the upper Midwest, right?
Well, the lake is so big it has a tide. So it was just kind of like, it was almost like our first ocean vacation. It wasn't even salty, you know?
Yeah, right?
Really nice. So speaking of driving cross country, we actually went to the real beach this year. And then on the way home, I stopped by at your place. So yeah, that was fun. I felt kind of like Robert Zimmerman, you know, chasing Woody Guthrie to try and become Bob Dylan. He was like, I'm just driving cross country. See if I can find Kevin.
That was good. And I'm glad
it was fun.
Your son find his holy grail.
Yeah, that was fun. So what's it like in Hernando? Hernando, Mississippi is where you're at, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you've landed.
Yeah.
What's
For
that
those
like?
that don't know, Hernando, Mississippi is a North Mississippi little quintessential southern town with the town square and the clock tower and the courthouse in the middle of the town. And I kind of refer to it as a suburban suburb of Memphis, Tennessee.
I always kind of thought you were in Memphis.
No, we're like 20 miles from downtown Memphis. So we're
sure. You sure are.
We're just like a suburb of a major city, but we're in a different state.
Okay.
And there's just enough, about 10 miles when you leave the populace of like way up North Mississippi, about 10 miles north of here. You can't really tell you're crossing the state line just because of the density of population. But then when you get south of that, there's 10 miles of nothing but countryside, right? Farmlands and countryside. And then boom, here's our little town right there. So it's quiet. It's out of the way. I like it. Yeah,
that's great.
Little slower, but I can, the fast-paced movement of here's the odd thing. I used to live in Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, when I first came down here in 2000. So I was there 7 years in that area. And the difference is in the pace, the pace of moving and stuff. So all of my, different things that appointments and doctors and dentists and all that kind of stuff, it's still in Tennessee. So it gives me an excuse to drive to the city because I have to go to the doctor. Right.
Yeah. Hey, you're definitely not far from the city. We're almost in the same thing in St. Louis, where we're in a suburb and we're not really in St. Louis City. It's like trees and green grass all around.
Yeah. Just countryside.
If I drive across the river, it's literally farmland.
Yeah.
So.
Missouri River. The more, and it's growing. It's a fast growing region of the state or the area. Because of the cost of living is like really low nationally. And you don't really realize the intangible benefits of where you live until you move away and live somewhere else. The little things like,
of course,
going to the DMV and updating my driver's license is like a 15-minute task. I never have to wait in line. It's just right there.
Yeah.
The courthouse is right there. So because we're also the county seat.
Okay.
Well, all of the, you pay your taxes, you just go uptown and, say hi to Bob. Hey, I'm going to pay my taxes.
What's up, Bob?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like southern town.
That's cool.
My dad's side of the family is from northern Alabama. So I'm actually closer to my dad's side of the family now. But I'm a transplanted Yankee because I was born and raised near Chicago. So I don't have a southern accent. So I get called out all the time. Especially right when I come back from visiting up north, because I pick up that upper Midwest Chicago accent.
That's funny.
And then
I
come down here, and it takes a couple of days to go back into kind of the voice.
Wear that off.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is weird. That's cool. It's really interesting how that all fits together with the different dialects. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you're talking about the slow pace because when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about on the show, I remembered this one text message that you sent to me. And the funniest thing is I kept looking for it and I was like, is that on LinkedIn? Nope. Was it a text message? And I couldn't find it on text messages. It's funny. We have all these different channels that we speak to each other on, right?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
And I finally found it. And I was asking you just randomly, do you ever get anxious on a Tuesday? And your answer was, hey, David, no, not really. I refuse to participate in anxiousness. Stressful moments at some times, sure, but that keeps the blood alive and moving.
Yeah.
And I really liked that I just sought it out because I wanted to quote you back to yourself and talk to you a little bit of how you can live that. How can you live in that vein of resisting anxiousness or just blocking that out? Do you have any words of wisdom on that?
Well, I don't know if it's wisdom.
How does that manifest in your
an
daily
opinion on
life?
it, if that matters.
Opinion's good. I have more. The quote is like 2 more paragraphs, but we can wait.
Oh, good. I would love to hear it. I might have to, you have to send it back to me. I probably have to put that in my journal or something.
Well, here, I'll quote one more. I keep
Okay.
the Serenity Prayer forefront in my mind. God, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a motto, kind of live by that. And so it just kind of break that down. Refusing to participate in anxiousness is think about what is anxiety. If you break it down, anxiety is worry. You're worrying about things. You're worrying about things that haven't happened, or you're worrying about things that you don't have control over. So if I don't have control over it, why worry about it? So, it sounds simple saying it out loud. And I know it's not easy mentally.
It's not. That's why I want to bring it back up because it
It's
sounds
not,
good
no.
on a chat.
I'm not going to lie. I feel
And I love
anxious every once in a while, and I get like that. And then
We all do.
I might recognize it right away. I say, what are you doing? Right? There's nothing you can do about that. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't control. And other times, it might be a bigger issue or a bigger situation that might last a day or two. And I have to work through that. And whether I vent to my wife or I do something, I go down and chop a tree just to get some angst out, but eventually I come back around to my blood pressure is not happy that I allow myself to be anxious. I know, again, just me, how I've kind of worked through it over my life. I would almost argue it's a learned skill. But I think part of it has to do with the chemicals in my brain are quite different than the chemicals in your brain. So some people can't do it, right? Depression, anxiety, things like that. They just don't have the capacity to manage it on their own or understand. And I'm probably speaking out of turn, but doesn't have the capacity and the discipline to learn how to do that for themselves. And then they seek help. Get help to get through that. I don't know. It's been part of it. I think I'll go back and blame Uncle Sam. Because I matured in the military, and the military, for those that are listening that have experience, you're trained for combat. You're trained for, you don't have time for indecisiveness. You're trained to focus on a goal and a mission, and everything else is trivial, arguably. And you need to move that stuff out of the way to focus on the goal or the mission. So if you kind of put that in context of general life, the goal is to be happy, to remove things that don't make me happy.
Yeah, I like that.
If I can control that, right?
It struck me. Yeah, when you said it, it really struck me. And so I just wanted to hear your reaction, and I'm totally putting you on the spot. So I really appreciate
you're fine.
Humoring me on that. Yeah. I think to transition, there is a third point you made. You said you loosely follow Edison's work schedule. Ignore the clock, sleep when I'm tired, eat when I'm hungry, work with my mind sharp, and play between often. I like that in the sense of it kind of leads us into what's a day in the life of Kevin these days. What are you up to? Or what do you get in trouble with?
Gosh.
Sounds like you're busy. From when you do find time to post on LinkedIn, you seem like you have your hand in a few pots.
I really haven't posted on LinkedIn so much because, that's a whole other conversation.
It is.
And you can't see behind me, but it is a literal hot mess back here. And my wife will not come in here unless she absolutely necessarily has to.
Okay.
I can look right now, you can't see, but the path to the door to get out of here is like that. Right.
Yeah.
This
is your hoarder room.
Yeah. It's chaos.
That's great.
It's organized chaos because I know if I'm looking for something, I know it's in this room. I might not know exactly where it's at the moment.
Okay.
But I know the last time I saw it was in this room. And it might take me, a couple hours to find it, but at least I know it's here. So, the whole Edison thing is, I'll give you an example.
That'd be great.
I was working on a project last night, and it was getting late. And I was like, it's closing time around 6 o'clock in the evening. And the average human stops working at that time. And so I did. I took a break, went down, got a little bite to eat. And I was like, my mind's still reeling. I can't just stop, right? And then, I'm going to go back up. So I came back up to the studio here. and went back to work. Next thing I know, it's 10:30, 11. And my wife's like, hey, I'm going to go to bed. I said, okay. So I went back downstairs, said goodnight to her, tucked her in, came back up. And I said, well, it is getting late, but let me just finish up and close the day down so I know what to do when I come in this morning. Well, I'm wide awake, just cranking along. It's I think it was 2:30 by the time I felt tired. You know what I mean? My mind felt tired. I can tell I'm starting to lose focus and my mind is drifting. I said, okay, I'm getting tired. What time is it? Holy cow, it's 2:30. Okay. Maybe I should go lay down for a little while. And then I got up at 6 and we started over again. And here we are. That's just one example. It's pretty much daily.
That's a good example. Yeah, it paints a picture.
But then my body will catch up 3 or 4 days later after I do that, several days in a row. And then I just listen to my body. If my body says, hey, you should probably sleep in today. So, okay. And then, I'll sleep in till 9:30 on a Tuesday.
Yeah, listening to your body. There's definitely value in that.
And I've always been a rebel when it came to, maybe that's why I quit corporate life, because I couldn't, that whole butts in seat, you got to work 40 hours a week kind of thing. The progress is not dictated by the clock. Progress is dictated by the work that gets done. And if I got to work 14 hours to get the work done, then I'll do that. If I can get work done in 4 hours, then I'll go play and have ice cream.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I lived that way too, having small children in the house. There's a lot of
you have a choice
times.
with small children.
Yeah, that's kind of like the first priority is make sure they stay alive.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of fits in around that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing that you said to me, this is going to be just kind of like, all the memories Dave has of things that Kevin said.
Oh my gosh.
What? No, one time you mentioned about a shift that you had when you started speaking at conferences. What kind of changed for you? Or could you just walk us through that process of what that was like? Because I think at one point you started doing that, right? Whereas previously you weren't.
Yeah, like I'm trying to specifically pinpoint the shift that I shared with you that I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't know when I first met you. It was definitely at a conference.
Yeah, oh sure.
And I think it was in New Orleans.
2009, I think, 2008 was my first conference, I think. Maybe even before that. My first conference was an ATD conference, and it was the AT ICE conference, and it was in Denver. I didn't know anybody. So it was probably 2004, now that I recall, because I had just taken on a role in the training department in 2003. That's how long I've been in the industry.
That's the year I moved to Thailand and started teaching. So yeah, that's funny. It's like the same year.
I transitioned out of IT into the training world.
Nice.
And my boss at the time, he just kind of tossed this ATD flyer on my desk. He said, hey, if you're interested, this might be a good opportunity to go check out, because we didn't have an LMS. We didn't have e-learning. Everything was still in-person workshops. And, they brought me in because of my IT knowledge and things like that and talked about, hey, we want to build an LMS or we want to implement one, but we don't know how to do it. And you seem to have, good experience on this side. Would you be willing to help figure that out? It's like, sure. I have no idea what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm game. And they sent me to the conference to say, hey, go explore. And that kind of opened my eyes. Like, okay. And I think the shift really was right around there when you talk about the shift. Now, keep in mind, I was in the military for a retired Army. And as you know, military trains every day. You're doing it over and over and over and over and over until, it's the back of your hand. It's in your memory. It's like muscle memory.
Rote repetition. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, later in my military career, I became a military trainer where I was training other people how to do those tasks. And it didn't dawn on me until I was well out into the corporate life how much I enjoyed the satisfaction of seeing somebody perform at something and pass a grade or pass a task that previously didn't know how to do that or didn't understand it until I trained them. So, but I didn't consider myself a trainer, but I was being groomed as a trainer, if you will, this whole time. And then some of your listeners may know, you may know, I'm also an illustrator, artist, comic artist. And so I've been drawing and doodling and illustrating my whole life, kind of self-taught. And then the geek side of me, when I got out of the military, the starving artist is a real thing. So I didn't really think I was going to make a living as an artist. And it was, right there, turn of the century. My gosh. Turn of the century. Yeah, right around, 2000.
Sounds epic, but it was literally just 2000. Yeah.
The dot-com era, the late 90s, .com, Web 2.0, all of that.
The Y2K
Yeah,
scare.
it was the boom. And
Right.
I was working in retail at Y2K that day. And my boss then said, hey, I know because I was leaving retail, moving to corporate, right? He said, I know you're about to leave, but can you do me one more favor? And I said, what's that? Could you stay until midnight just to make sure everything, turns over okay? Okay,
Yeah.
I can hang out, right? So ordered pizza, a couple of us hung out, we just waited till midnight. Did everything come back on? And it didn't dawn on me then I left and went to corporate. And then I was like, well, when I got out of IT, because IT was what really technology. I mean, this is an era, early 2000s. This is going to be my new career. So I'm going to go back to school, get my IT degree and move into that realm, in which I did. So I ended up in corporate and then realized that we were paying COBOL programmers. For those of you who don't know, it's an old database programming language. And the corporation's mainframe was programmed in COBOL, and they were hiring COBOL programmers like $300 an hour way back then to fix all of the base code that had the 2000 or the 1919 whatever in it. And I'm thinking, I'm in the wrong line of business. I need to dig into this.
Learn how to code that COBOL.
I need to get into coding and programming and stay abreast on what's going on in the world of technology. So all of that combined, and then I go to this conference and I start meeting some folks, and then there it was. That was the mashing of all my passions in one career. So the trainer in me that I didn't know I was a trainer, just having the satisfaction of teaching somebody something they didn't know. The visual design, art, illustration side of e-learning and what we do now. And then the IT to pull it all together, right? To connect it all and make it come alive. And each of those were a major passion. And they all mashed together in one cubicle farm desk. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. Now let's ride this train and see where it goes. And then my first speaking gig was 2009. It was a visual, actually, I was recruited, if you will. We had just implemented that LMS, and the LMS provider was going to the same conference and asked if I could do like a case study on the implementation of the LMS, how seamless it was, how smooth, it didn't take very long. So I put a presentation together. I delivered it at their user conference, and that's how they said, hey, you should bring that to this conference, which was back then it was called Learning Solutions Annual Gathering. So it was the Orlando Conference Learning Solutions every spring, which has since changed, and I don't think they do it anymore. But it was called the Annual Gathering back then. It was Annual Gathering 2009. Matter of fact, I think it was the last year they called it Annual Gathering. And so I was asked to come and present this case study. So I, submitted the application and everything, and I thought, why would anybody want to hear about somebody else's case study? But I said, I think these conferences, what people can do, like what are practical things people can take away from a conference and go and, apply right away when they get back to their company. Hearing me talk about history, like what happened before, that's not helpful for anybody. And I'm not getting paid to help promote or sell this LMS. So I submitted, I said, I'm going to submit my own thing. So I did a little presentation called The Fifth Language. And essentially, as humans, we already innately know several languages: body language, math, written language, oral language, and then visual language. We have visual language, but we don't really realize it's a language. So that was my first foray into teaching visual language as a communication technique. Well, funny thing is that got accepted and the case study got rejected, even though they were the ones that asked me to submit the case study one. I had 6 people in my session, and they put me in one of those shotgun rooms where it held 60 people, but the chairs were like, in the North 40 back there, and nobody sat up front. I think the closest person was about mid-room. Everybody else was mid-room back. And I just did the whole Brady Bunch. I don't know if I'm dating myself, but Brady Bunch, there's a scene in one of the episodes, like when you're on stage and you get nervous, just pretend everybody's in their underwear and it'll make you laugh inside.
My dad used to tell me that. Sure. Yeah.
Same thing, right? And then another technique is just look past all the chairs and find a spot on the wall in the back of the room and talk to the spot on the wall. And like a spot in that corner of the room and a spot in that corner of the room. So it looks like you're panning and talking, but you're not really.
But you're not looking at any faces.
Yeah. Right.
Also, you have to imagine that they all owe you $20. I heard was the other trick.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
No, then I'd be like, I'd be
Where's
looking
my
at it all
money?
weird. But at this same time, 2009, Twitter had just started up and all of these live blogging. It was a trend where you would just send out a tweet where it said, well, he said this. Oh, and he did that. And he quoted that. He said this. So people would sit there and live. And then I remember too, a lot of speakers back then, some of the more established veterans of the industry back then were getting real upset that people were on their phone and their laptop and not paying attention to them, in the room speaking. And I had 6 people in the room and a couple of them had asked, is it okay if I live blog? Yeah, that'd be great. Sure. So one was actually live blogging a blog and the others, I think, were doing like on Twitter. In my mind, I was thinking if I have 6 people in a room, but there's 6,000 watching the feed outside, right? So, I mean, why would you not want people to do that, right?
Yeah. Why would you be mad about that?
So I said, oh, yeah, sure. Well, that kind of sparked the momentum because I guess, from a personal branding perspective, the name gets out there, your brand gets out there. And that's kind of where it all started right there, early 2000s, And that's just been, chaos since then.
And then Nugget Head was in there somewhere. There's an icon that you talk about called Nugget Head. When did that?
That's the story.
This is totally off the cuff.
No, it happened that conference.
I was like, what about Nugget Head?
It was that conference. So
okay.
Let me kind of back up. So Twitter came out 2007, 8, somewhere around there, I think. And I, one of the not early adopters. I got in maybe a year after it opened or something. I don't know. But social media was Facebook was still relatively new. I mean, all the social media stuff was still relatively new. And it was moving kind of like AI is now. What we think how AI is moving at the pace it is right now, it was the same feeling back then of how fast social media was moving.
Sure.
And I was really, talk about the anxiety, right? I wasn't anxiousness, but I was nervous. I don't know that I want to put an image of myself out in the world public. So I was doodling one night, like I always do, and this character fell out of my pencil. And I thought, that looks like it would be a great avatar picture. So I used that and I colored it orange just so that for me, if to see my own thing come through the feed, it's contrast, right? It's like this bright orange looking dot thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that and put it up there. And I had a blog back in the day called Learn Nuggets. My Twitter X handle today is still at Learn Nuggets. And that's how I would tweet out things about little tips and techniques about how to do things in e-learning, visual design, graphics, different things. And that avatar. And through those Twitter exchanges and that network, I got to meet a lot of folks that I didn't know in person, but I got to meet through the industry. A lot, kind of like now today, I think more on LinkedIn, you get in conversation with people, you know them.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You don't really meet them for the first time until a year after you've been talking to them. It's kind of that same.
Yeah. Or 5.
But Twitter was the platform back then.
Uh-huh.
And so I'd gotten to know a lot of folks and this and that. I was like, hey, I'm really excited about going to the conference, looking forward to meeting everybody. And then one person said, like, well, we don't know what you look like. I was like, oh, that's right. Nobody knows what I look like. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. I can just kind of go, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But I have the photo somewhere, but it's got a timestamp on it. I was like one of the first selfie people. I had an embroidered shirt made with the logo on it.
Nice.
And I took a picture of myself with the shirt, with the logo of the avatar, and tweeted that and said, hey, find the shirt, you find me, kind of thing. If you see the shirt, that's me. And then I ended up finding, running into a lot of people that I met online. But going back to the whole Nugget Head moniker, over time, people would mention me or tweet and say, hey, I'm running into this jam. Hey, what do you think about this? What does the Nugget Head? And the community gave my avatar a name because my handle was Learn Nuggets and they called him Mr. Nugget. And it just kind of stuck. And then I would play along and I would answer them in the third person as if I went and talked to Mr. Nugget Head and he suggests and advises, well, I just consulted with him and he suggests you do this or something, right? And that,
never heard that. That's funny.
That kind of trended for a little while and it worked really well. And then when I finally quit corporate and I started my own brand, I just played homage back to its origins and called it Nugget Head Studios.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
That's cool.
It's a fun story.
It really is. And I didn't know that you ever referenced him like that. That's cool. It's kind of like Snakes on a Plane. Have you heard of this film,
Yeah, yeah.
Snakes on a Plane?
That's right.
It's like
Yeah.
written by the fans of Samuel L. Jackson. And then when he saw it, he's like, yeah, let's make this movie. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's kind of the point, right?
That's right. There's been several times over the last decade where I would get asked, do you think it's silly that you have that name as a company working with, like, do you think you're not going to get professional work? Do you think you're worried about being hired because of the name of your company? And I said, well, if somebody's worried about the name of my company and not be interested in hiring me, I don't know that I want to work with that company anyway.
Love that.
Right.
That's fantastic. And then you're just like filtering out all the noise, right?
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, that's cool.
You hire me because of the kind of work I do, not because of the name of my company.
Love that. That's great. So speaking of the work you do, the next thing I wanted to talk about is when you're designing a learning activity, or we could call it a game, what is your most common process, or what is a constant you think in your design process?
You're probably going to not believe pencil and paper.
I love that.
I mean,
Tell me about that.
No,
I want to
everything.
hear about that.
Everything starts on paper. I mean, if you go back, there are countless references to great thinkers, great designers, great innovators, inventors. It started on a napkin. It started on a piece of paper. It started on a notepad. And I've always been a doodler, drawer, and I've got sketchbooks all over the place. And
Me too.
I do a lot more on the iPad now because but I get an idea. I just start sketching out thoughts, sketching out ideas, and they form into something that's workable. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's trash. But everything, there's too much, I call it digital noise. Because when you sit at your laptop like we are now, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I can assume that on your screen right now, you have your browser, several tabs. You've probably got some social media apps open. You've got your email running off to the side. So there's enough digital noise to distract you, even though you're focused on a Word document and you're trying to write out some thoughts. There's all this other stuff, right? That can easily distract you, either
Certainly.
by notification, bell, ding, or you're like, oh, I got to check this. Let me go check this. Oh, I haven't checked that in a while. Let me go check that. So it's kind of where our brains have been programmed in the last several years. So for me to avoid that, like you gotta separate the noise, is I step away from this environment completely, and I just go sit down quietly and just literally no music, no TV, nothing, just air, and just start drawing and doodling and tinkering. And to me, and I would totally encourage and recommend anybody to do this, your brain goes into overdrive in about 10, 15 minutes of that activity. And what you're trying to think through will come faster than if you try to force it with all this other distraction around you. So that's my process, the start of my process.
I love that. That happens to me. For some reason, for me, it's always at like midnight or 2 a.m. So I've been known to just walk across the house, get some paper, and just turn on one light and sketch things out.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mind is, I think I'm more connected to the subconscious than maybe, like still half asleep.
The time is,
maybe?
I think time is relative, right? So
yeah.
If you have, I've heard this my whole life. If you wake up in the middle of the night and an idea, then roll over and grab your notebook off your nightstand and jot it down. It's like, yeah, that's great advice, but to get cognitively aware that you're awake enough to grasp a pencil is one thing, let alone transfer those ideas out of your head into tangible artifact. That never worked for me, right? So
that's interesting. No, I have to like walk across the house. If I'm still laying in bed on my phone or something, usually the idea doesn't really flesh out.
Well, you think there's so many different how people manage their own creativity.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's got to be subjective. Yeah, sure.
Right. So, but I firmly believe creativity is a skill and it can be learned. However, just like any skill, you have to practice, and you get better and you perform better through practice. How you practice is how you get along with yourself. Like you said, you have to pace around, go sit down with one small light. Me, it doesn't matter where I am as long as I'm not in front of this.
Yeah. Oh, no, that part I 100% agree with. Yeah, that is accurate for me as well. Easily distracted in front of a computer. In fact, whenever I'm going to record, I literally shut down the whole computer just so everything's off. And then when I come to record, I only pull up the things I'll need. And so, I have more than one screen here, but they're all related to what we're doing here. Because otherwise, you're right. well, also it's just bad for the computer, right? Try to record something. But yeah, I think the distraction thing is also a big part of it. It makes me think of a book. There's a book called Hamlet's Blackberry. It's like
Hamlet's Blackberry.
To be or not to be, to have the Blackberry. And it was back when the Blackberry, I think, was the thing.
It was
Great book. I think, yeah. At the beginning of the book, the author drops their Blackberry into the lake off a boat. And then they proceed to have like the best vacation day they've had in their life because they don't have their phone with them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So also I wanted to ask, how does the idea deck play into all of this? Because I know that I've seen you post about that and talk about that. I'm sure that maybe came later, but do you want to walk us through that or share on that?
That was an evolution that came out of the in-person workshop that Carl Kopp and Deb Thomas and I formed back in 2019. We called it Step Away, which looking back is probably not the best name for an event, but the idea of Step Away is to step away from the noise and because we were just sitting around talking one day. And when you go to a workshop, you go to a pre-conference workshop, it's about 6 hours of not counting the lunch and breaks and stuff. It's about 6 hours of content or whatever. And you really can't get into practical application in a 6-hour workshop. Right? It's just, there's only so much you can do. It's software training and things like that. It's different, but it just like analog type things. It's there's a lot to cram in a 1-day workshop. So I had my visual design, kind of graphic design workshops, visual storytelling, sequential narratives, all of that kind of stuff that I would do. Carl would do his gamification and game design workshops. And Dad was also a board game designer. And I thought, what if we mashed our workshops together into a full week, like a 4.5-day event, where not only do you learn game design and game mechanics and the whole idea around thinking through a learning game, serious game, but you also had time to build it, design it, prototype it, play test it. And by the end of the event, you had an actual working prototype that you could then go into full production later. About that time, this thing flies through my feed about this giant game house outside of Orlando, which is like 15,000 square foot house on 10 acres. And every room is themed after a classic board game. So there's like the Clue room and the Monopoly room, and the main common area is a giant indoor chess game. And, it's just, the whole place is nothing but a giant game house. It's designed for, family vacations. It's not designed as a business event, but it's like, it should be fun. What if we took our event and held a game design workshop inside a game house? Let's do it. So we did. 2019. Massive success. Great time.
Yeah.
Just like any creative problem-solving endeavor, you're always faced with restrictions and challenges that you have to shift on the fly to kind of adjust. Even though you're trying, creativity is like there's no limit, but there are restraints and restrictions and constraints. So that's exactly how we design the workshop, is that we're going to design a game. It's like, oh, great. And we play games and you deconstruct games to learn about games, and then you design a game. Starts out where you're designing a board game. This is where Deb kind of led that effort. And then about midweek, it was like, oh, geez, sorry, your game now has to be a card game instead of a board game. So you got to scrunch it down from a tabletop board game down to a card game. And oh, by the way, you only get 24 cards, and they have to be square cards, not poker-sized cards. So we put all these design constraints around them. And it was hard fun, as we like to say it. It was very difficult, because you had to force yourself into a part of your brain that you've never been to before. And if we're not making you uncomfortable, you're not growing. So we have to take you out of your comfort zone and push you into a design creativity mindset that you might not have been before. Or if you are a creative person, they're going to take you to the edge of where you've been. And what come out of that were some really fantastic functional learning games in a card game. So we're like, okay, we're on to something. 2020, you know what happened? All in person. Anything in person got canceled.
COVID. Yeah.
The place where we were at, they understood, and they just moved us to 2021. We get around to 2021, and it was people are still nervous about getting out, and especially a game house. It's kind of like Big Brother. It's not like you're going to a hotel and you go back to your room at the end of the day. you go back to your room at the end of the day, but it's a common kitchen and a common living area and everything is common. So people were still a little bit nervous about that environment. So in 2021, we shifted to a virtual and do it virtually. And we did that in, I think, early 22 and then again, late 22 and early 23. So we did 3 virtual offerings of that same event. And then the idea deck came out of DevLearn a couple years ago where we were invited to come bring our workshop to DevLearn. It's like, oh, great. Can we have a 2-day workshop? Because remember, this thing started out as a 4.5-day event. And we went back in 23, but we scrunched it down to 3 days. We carved a day off. And then when we got invited to DevLearn, it was asked, can we do a 2-day? It's like, no, we don't do 2 days. You have to do it in 1 day. It's like, well, now we're right back in the same boat we were when we started this whole thing because you can't really do what we're wanting participants to do in a 1-day workshop. We can't do it. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, but we don't want to miss the opportunity either. So, what are we going to do? And then I can't remember if it was Deb or Carl or the both of them. They came up with a great idea. What if we design a card game that helps people design a game, like the whole meta approach to it? It's like, boom. Right. Fantastic idea. How do we do that? So that's what the idea deck is you have a learning goal and a learning objective, and then you work through each section of the deck. What are the mechanics? What are the elements? What are the motivations? All of the pieces that would go into a game, but you discuss it because you got a whole bunch of them. It's got examples. And as you choose through based on, the lens of what the objective is, what is the learning goal? And you're always looking at that lens and you're looking at this card. Now that's like a collecting, mechanic, right? Yeah, but this is how to lift heavy objects training. Collecting is probably not, so we don't need that one. Right. So, but then once you identify what those are, the center card is a hexagon where you line these cards up around the hexagon. And then once you go through all that and you finish what lays in front of you is the architecture of your game right there. And then there's a worksheet you fill out that matches all that up. And now you have the outline, you have everything you need to then go design the game. So that's where the idea deck came, and we designed it, put it together. And fantastic news. We're going back to DevLearn this year with the idea deck. But I think we're gonna twist it up a little bit. I think what we're gonna do, I can't reveal. We got a new surprise that we're gonna add to it.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ruin the suspense. Yeah. No, don't do that.
But we are
That's
going
fantastic.
back to DevLearn. So if you want to learn how to design a game, come see us.
Yeah. That sounds great. I wish I was going now. I'm not going to make it to DevLearn this year, but
Oh, bummer.
maybe I'll see you at Core 4. Are you going to that one?
No, I'm not going to that one.
Well, I'll see you next year then.
Yeah. Or just make a road trip to St. Louis.
That's what we'll do. Yeah. We'll just road trip it. We'll meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You mentioned there's different cards. Some of them are game mechanics. And then the other cards, are they different colors or?
Yeah. Where's it at?
I'm just curious. I just wanted to ask how it works. Because I've seen pictures of it, but I'm trying to visualize. Okay. Here's the hexagon. Well, that's the hexagon. It says idea deck on it. So these aren't squares. Are these all hexagons or?
No, that's just the
center one.
Right. The center.
Okay. Content, interactions, objectives. Okay. Interesting. Core dynamics, elements.
Right.
Nice. Okay.
And then
I see a color coding system and I see shapes.
Yeah. So that's the accessibility part. We kind of stole that from Uno did that. Their release. So
sure.
A color with a shape. And if you're colorblind, you just match the shape. So yeah, that was a last minute addition. And then the cards, you can hear my paper rattling.
Yeah. We're adding texture here. This is context. Okay. Here we go. That's a fat deck of cards.
Right. So the deck, I've got here are all the interaction cards, the red ones.
Yeah.
So one of the interactions is cooperate, working together towards shared goals. And then on the back is an example, players working together to save a project or co-develop a solution. So you're looking through, is this interaction, competition, co-opetition, conflict, cooperate? So you pick one of these, and then when you pick it, you got this laying down, and then you lay this card face on the match.
So you kind of have to pick one of those.
No, you can pick it. You can have all. You can have 3 or 4. Right.
Okay.
You can have as many as you want. The idea, it's an iterative process, and the idea is to do it with you do it with other people. You can do it by yourself, but it works really well when you're having a conversation and you're going through it. And then
I love it.
Like the content cards is step-by-step behavior, lists, relationships, matrix, trade-offs. Then there's the objectives. Is it a cognitive objective? You separate all these out by their category.
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does, well, the logistics of it, I always want to kind of know how it's going to work. Working as a trainer.
Let's say you start with content.
Okay.
So let me see, get them, they're all mixed up here. Let's say you start with all the content cards and then you have a conversation around each one of these cards based on your learning objective. Is this learning objective like a matrix, placing information in a grid format where items are categorized along 2 or more dimensions, allowing for easy comparison analysis across different criteria? You know, lifting heavy objects, matrix probably isn't the right card, right? So I toss that. I don't need that.
Sure.
Is it step by step? Maybe. Is it behavior? Maybe. So you start thinking through it and you lay these cards down. And as you iterate, you can put as many cards as you down round 1, and then you do a round 2 and you go around and you start refining it until you get to the point where I've got everything I need now to go outline and design my game.
Cool. I get it.
It's fun to play.
Yeah. And I look forward to playing it someday.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I also wanted to talk about Lego. I know that Lego is a big part of your life.
Oh my gosh.
I might see maybe a nature theme or a Star Wars theme in your build. But I attended a really fun session that you led at a conference. Speaking of going to your conferences your sessions at conferences.
Yeah.
Can you share about that, like that process or how you got involved with that program? Because that was really fun.
Yeah, Lego Serious Play. I got certified as a facilitator in 2016.
Okay.
I think it was 2016. Been Lego passion, hobbyist, nerd, whatever you want to call it, my whole life. To me, it's therapeutic, just playing with Lego, doing things. But I also think through it because I would always play with Lego and think through it, and I would have ideas by, the same thing with sketching, right? If you think with your hands, ideas, the dopamine fires off in your brain. There's a bunch of research, like it doesn't matter if you like to vacuum, you're out there vacuuming and you have ideas, you're thinking, you're just doing something other than doing something. You know what I mean? And Lego does that for me. So I'll play with Lego and it'll help me think through some ideas. I came across Lego Serious Play early 2010s or whatever. I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. It was more popular overseas in Asia and Europe than it was in the US, but I'd heard about it. And then it came across that facilitator training there was a workshop going to be held in Boston in the US. It was the only one in the US that year. I said, well, this is my opportunity. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it now. So shot up to Boston for a week and got certified. And then I realized I can so implement this into my learning and development training work. So I started, not aggressively, just kind of feeding it in a little bit to test the water, see where it would work, how it would be accepted, things like that. And I got an opportunity to work with the U.S. Army, got an opportunity to work with a couple of universities, and then a couple of clients. I would use it not as a full day workshop, but as a kickoff meeting, idea generation kind of activity. Or I would do it in my workshops where we would do all this hard thinking, and then we'd stop and take a break, and then we would do a little bit of Lego, and then we'd go back to the work stuff. So I was kind of playing around with different strategies on how to implement it. And then, matter of fact, I did a pre-conference workshop on communication, the perception of communication inside a workplace at Learning Solutions in 2018, 2019. It was a pre-conference workshop, sold out. It was well received. And then I was like, well, how can I do this at conferences, but not as a pre-conference workshop? I don't know. Maybe it's the air and the thing, but I've submitted it as a pre-conference workshop several times at different conferences. And I don't know if it's just in the U.S. People don't want to play with Lego at a conference. I don't know. So if you're a conference organizer and you want a Lego Serious Play pre-conference workshop, give me a call.
We'll reach out to Kevin.
We'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
So then I kind of shifted gears. What if I did it as just like sessions? And then I did a workshop for the University of Central Florida, and then they're associated with the USDLA that was in St. Louis a couple years ago. I think a couple summers ago. That's the one that you attended. And then I found out the keynote was doing a keynote session on personal branding, and then reached out to him. I said, that would be a great follow-up. Or they had suggested it, and I reached out to him saying, that'd be a great follow-up. You do the keynote, and then our workshop's right after the keynote. That now, how do you develop a personal brand using his sort of framework, and then building out using Lego to see kind of see yourself in Lego and what your brand is. And that's
It was surprisingly effective as well.
Yeah.
Just because you had, again, you go back to the constraints concept where we only had a select number of Legos to work with, right? And I think we all had the same kit, if
That's
I'm
right.
not mistaken. Right. So yeah, it was
well, that's
interesting
the
process.
strategy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a thinking and communication technique, and the tool happens to be Lego. The constraint is everybody gets the exact same inventory, so it's not like your peer gets a piece that you wish you had. Everybody gets the same pieces. And it's specifically designed not to be equal amounts. So there might be 3 of one piece in the same color. And that really breaks people's brains when they're trying to do things with symmetry. It's like, well, wait, I only have 3. I need 4.
I noticed that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's exactly a design exactly like, because it forces you to
Yeah.
think differently about how you
Yeah.
typically think about being creative.
Yeah. I love being symmetrical and all the same color when I've worked with Lego. So yeah, I love that. It definitely jogged my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
That's
got
a good session.
there's a whole bunch of Lego stuff going on right now that I'm working on. One in particular is I just partnered with a nonprofit for intellectual and developmental disability young people, like
Okay.
young adults,
Okay.
18 to 22, and it's using Lego as a way to learn work skills, so to help them transition into a working life. And we're using Lego as part of that therapy and that transition. So that's one thing we just started about a month ago. So we're working on trying to get that. And then I got a meeting later this week with the Institute on Disability up at the University of Memphis, because they have a similar school, which is in Tennessee, that does the same thing. So we're going to talk about some opportunities there later this week. And what else? The first Lego League robotics competition, where middle school kids form a team and they have to accomplish a number of challenges by designing and developing and programming a Lego robot in order. So it's teaching them, all kinds
That's
of
a really cool program.
teamwork,
Yeah.
collaboration, critical thinking, programming skills, and then Lego,
Yeah.
you get to build a robot, right? So
Yeah. So right up your alley. Yeah.
yeah. So
All
they're
of it. Yeah.
So I'm working with that team. Practice. The practice season just started last month. So we'll go through a bunch of practicing. And I'm not the coach. There's like the coach and a mentor. I'm kind of more of the mentor than the coach. And I was kind of working with them as we get into the fall. And the fall is when competition starts. So we're trying to help the kids get ready for competition. And then I'm working with a couple libraries on, matter of fact, one library's summer reading program is Unearthing History. So we're doing this big Lego dinosaur kind of excavation kind of layout mock to kind of out of Lego to kind of show what does an excavation site look like in miniature Lego
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
And then there's another library that's building a new sensory room or sensory lab. The same thing for disabilities. So we're looking at this is not my area of expertise clearly, but I'm working with a sensory professional about what and how we can use Lego as a way to help, and then set up a little lab in one of the local libraries. And then there was one other thing, and I can't remember what it is now. Don't tell me. STEM lab. There's a brand new STEM lab.
Nice. Okay.
That was in it. We were gonna do this big STEM activity at their new lab grand opening. It was the end of May. No, yeah, right around the end of May. But the scheduling didn't work out because of construction, getting the lab ready, and then it was the last 2 weeks of school and finals and everybody run around trying to get school ending and then try to organize and so they did the big grand opening of the STEM lab, but they really haven't used it yet, and then school got out. So we have plans on kicking that off for the next school year in August, late August. We're going to kick off a big Lego STEM kind of activity at their new lab.
That's awesome.
So I'm just having a world of fun with
You're busy.
The local
Yeah, that was a long list. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even the corporate client work that I'm doing too.
Sure. Well, I like how it tied back into the visual language part, though, especially at the beginning when you're talking about those with developmental needs, right? Where this is kind of like an in-between or a bridge. And I feel like it's that tactile connection or that physical.
I'm in that
connection to
space
it.
right now. It's kind of a weird space because I didn't think I would be here at this age. If I'm starting to date myself, but I'm at one of those ages where the average person starts to wind down, downsize, and go to the beach and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But and I want to do that, but I can do that. but for some part, I can't do that. It's like my brain won't let me do that yet. Like I still have work to do. And I'm finding myself in this weird place where I've been teaching and training adults in the adult workforce my entire career. But I'm in this weird place now that there's a need for children and those with developmental disabilities. And I just feel I feel like I'm drawn in that direction now, and just opportunities, they just keep popping up. Like, hey, do you want to help do that? You want to help us do that? It's like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Well, yeah, let's do that. So it's kind of where things are kind of sliding that way. I don't know I have no idea where the future goes with that, but I'm having a blast. I'm having a good time doing it.
Yeah, you have a calling to do it in a way. Maybe you could do something where you're on the beach, but you still have the Legos, or you still find opportunities. It's like you've retired, but then you still bring your Legos to the beach.
What is retired? What is that?
I don't know. While we're getting abstract, Kevin, what would you say if I asked you, what are games and why do we love games? Why do we love them?
It's play.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes right.
That.
It goes right down to the innate instinctive nature of a human being. We play to learn. You just watch a 2-year-old or a young child as they play. They're curious. There's no rules. They just explore, and they do things that you would think, you ever heard like play like a kid, play like a child?
Sure. We've
been trained not to play like that. Or we grew out of that because we think there's consequences to play. But true play is play. There's no rules. And what happens is you have the freedom to fail, and you have the freedom to explore, and there's no criticism and there's no correction and nothing, just play. So, and what kind of strikes me as odd, just kind of tie in the whole AI movement right now, or whoever's listening, where you are with your AI skills today with the different tools that you might be playing with. How did you get today if you didn't play with AI? You played with it. You practiced different prompt ideas. You were curious. You want to explore this idea. You want to do that. So you don't even realize it, but you are innately attracted to play. But when we use the word play in corporate workforce learning, it all of a sudden becomes a 4-letter word, right? Well, we can't play. We're adults. You play every day. You just think about it. You play every day. You play around with a recipe when you're kind of coming up with a different dish. You follow a recipe to get it out the first time. You think, I'm going to play with this recipe a little bit. I'm going to swap out this ingredient. Or you're gardening, and this year it's like, I don't like the way this arrangement is. I'm going to play around with the landscaping and see if I can come up with a different idea. That's play, and games are the same way.
Thank you for listening to GameLayer. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and especially review wherever you found us. This keeps us in the charts and helps other learners find us as well. If you got something out of an episode, please be sure to share it with someone who you think will like it.
If you build games that it's fun. If you're building a learning game, obviously the learning objective and the goal, and then everything goes through the lens of that. But then how do you play to learn?
Yeah, and I think that's also interchangeable. I would take what you're saying, and I agree with all of it, and then say maybe one of the ultimate forms of learning really is play, right? And it's unfortunate, I think, what you said, where play becomes a 4-letter word at the corporate environment. And I've experienced that firsthand as a learning and development professional.
I think we all have,
exactly what you mean. And it's unfortunate because we cut the training short because it has to be so formal and so serious. And then it's like, what's what you said? It's the fear of failure just takes over, right?
Yeah, because and maybe I think that's what motivates me and drives me, is just constantly thinking about when I design training or design learning, I put it in a perspective of how I would want to learn. Well, we all should do that, right? In perspective of how I would learn this material. But if you give me the opportunity to play with the material and give me the opportunity to fail while playing with that material, and you give me the opportunity to explore and be curious about that material, I'm going to be more engaged, and I will tend to retain what I'm learning if you give me that opportunity.
Amen. So I've noticed a Star Wars theme to your Lego builds, and I think I see Darth Vader behind your head there.
Yes.
I was curious if you had the opportunity to see the Mandalorian and Grogu movie yet.
I have not.
Just some pop culture. Yeah, it came out of left field for me. I didn't even know it existed.
The funny thing is, I've not been to a movie theater since before COVID. No, yeah. And my wife and I were just talking about the other day. I said, we should go to the movies and we should go see Mandalorian and Grogu. She goes, why would we do that? And I said, because it's like the first Star Wars movie that's been released in a theater since what, The Force Awakens? I mean, it's been a long time.
Been a while.
Since Star Wars released a movie in a theater. I think it would just be a cool experience. She goes, yeah, but then, and how much is it going to cost? I think, I don't know. That was not the point, right? So, but she has a point, right? It's like, oh my gosh,
She does have a point.
You get like $50 to go to the movies.
Yeah. Well, yes. Then that's part of the issue. What we did is we went early Sunday morning because then it was a matinee. And
yeah. Well, we would do the same thing. We don't do the late night stuff, but we do the
late night costs like, it would be over $60 for two people to go see a movie. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, this kind of thing. You can't go to the movie and not get popcorn, right? And not get something to drink. At minimum, you got to have a drink and popcorn. So, it's like, I said, or we could, just hang out in our comfy chairs at home and pull up and rent the movie or, wait till it comes on Disney Plus and pay for it, whatever. For, like, well, I'm not going to pay, $19.99 to watch the movie.
And now you're just in the same thing. Yeah.
It's like the same thing, right? But I'm at home. I can make my favorite flavor of popcorn. I can have my favorite thing. Pay $20, get the same movie and be comfortable. And I can pause it if I have to take a break. I don't have to
No, all of these are very valid points. Yeah.
I know. That's like, I don't know.
The movie magic is stronger at the theater. I'm just going to say it.
I know it is.
At the theater,
right?
The popcorn smells a little bit
different. I haven't
it's
given
that
up.
Fake butter smell.
I haven't given up on influencing her to go simply because. So when The Force Awakens was released, what was that? 2017, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I remember it had been a long hiatus before Star Wars released the last 3 trilogy. And it was a big fanfare, and you had to pre-order tickets, and the tickets were being sold out, and you couldn't get a ticket. And so I said, well, we got to go. She goes, well, all the tickets are sold out. I said, well, I'm sure there's a theater somewhere in the country that hasn't sold out. She goes, are you suggesting that we go somewhere else to watch this movie? I said, yeah, why not? Let's go on a road trip to watch the Star Wars movie. And she
No, here we go.
came back. I said, well, I got tickets. She goes, you got tickets? I got tickets to the movie. Where'd you get tickets at? Disney World down in Orlando. She goes, what? I said, yeah, we're going to Disney to watch the movie. I said, and I was in big trouble for that. But anyway, yeah, we got on a plane. We flew to Disney World and we went to the big AMC theater there at Disney Springs.
All right. Did you go to Disney World while you were there?
No, just
you just saw the movie. Okay.
Yeah. Just went to the movie. But it was really cool because they had.
I would have been more than in trouble, I think, if I had done that.
No, they had all of the. Matter of fact, I think we went to Hollywood Studios because they had all the big cosplay, the parade, the Star Wars parade.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think we did go over there. But it was pretty cool because
that is cool.
It had everybody was dressed up and it was just a really cool experience to and it kind of goes back to when I was standing in line in the rain in a gravel parking lot in 1977 with my $1 to go to the movie theater that had one screen waiting to see Star Wars. Yeah. So it's kind of that same, I'm going to be the first one to watch it.
It's cool. We were in a small...
trying to get Mandalorian.
That's so cool. Yeah. It was just us. It was the 4 of us in an empty theater watching Mandalorian and Grogu. My wife, my 2 kids. Not on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Yeah. And it's funny because I bought the tickets online and we walked in. No one was there to check my tickets. I just walked in the place like I owned it.
Wow.
I had my QR code ready on my wallet, ready to show them, and no one was there.
Holy cow.
And it's like a sign of the times. They're more interested in trying to sell me a box of popcorn for $20 than to even be concerned if I bought tickets for the movie. That's happened the last 4 or 5 times I've gone. So maybe you could tell your wife there really isn't a price concern because you really don't even need to buy tickets anymore. You just walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a can of soda in my pocket. No one's checking. So,
yeah. Well, I don't know. My conscience wouldn't let me do that. I've heard it's we could just put a granola bar in your pocket and
that's fair.
Put a can of soda. I said, yeah, it's just my conscience wouldn't allow me to do it. If I'm going to go.
Well, that's what my wife said. Yeah. You wouldn't actually not buy tickets and try and go in. It's no, I wouldn't, but that's not the point. I literally could have not bought these tickets.
You could have, after the fact, right?
Yeah. Hindsight's
and you could certainly get away with, pulling out your own snack bag and nobody would care. But
yeah,
I just, in my mind, that's being deceitful and I couldn't consciously be deceitful.
I agree with you up to the point to where one ticket is like $30. And then it's like, okay, you guys, I think you've kind of already made profit on me. So in the grand scheme
why
of
I don't
things,
go, because I'm not going to pay $30, so I'm never going to.
Yeah, but they've already got their profit. They don't need to do a markup on the drink also.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't feel that guilty is what I'm saying. I've done it several times. I feel great. I sleep like a baby. So
yeah. I know, but here lately, just sitting down even at home here to watch a movie, it's like, oh, let's take a break. It's like, well, how long is that movie? It's like, well, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I ain't got that much time. And then it's like, well, let me find a movie that's not like under 2 hours. And then then I was like, oh, here's one for like it's an hour and 40 minutes. I said, oh, I can do that. And then I'll turn it on. It's like, man, this is going to take way too long. Then I lose interest. And then I don't, because I've got so many things that I'm on a mission. It's hard. And if I can be transparent and honest, I do
Please.
I'm very poor at taking care of myself. I'm very bad at it.
You did say you stayed up till 2:30. So yeah, that's an example, I guess.
That's not good. I should not do that.
It's not the best. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but you brought it up.
No, it's not.
It's funny. This all ties together, man. When I was driving out on the vacation where I went to Alabama Beach, Orange Beach, and then drove back and visited your house, I listened to an autobiography by Stephen King. It's about writing, the craft. And one of the things he says in that is, if you want to be a serious writer, you do not have time to sit around every night and watch TV or watch movies. There's just no time for that.
No.
So I think it rings true, right? If you really want to be creating something.
Yeah. And so if you think about it's so easy to be a consumer, to doom scroll or watch movies or binge watch. And here lately, I'd say lately, in the last kind of gradually over the last year, I would look, and I think it happened as a trigger that happened. I got one of those little stupid notifications on my iPhone, and it said how much time you spent on each app, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you get your weekly.
And I added it up, and it was like, I don't know, like 12 or 13 hours total between email and text messaging and social media and all that, something like that. And then it just automatically, 12 hours of my life was in this gadget, right? And like, some of it was productive. You're responding to an email.
That's what I was going to follow up with. I get that too. And some of it is me literally listening to podcasts or books while I'm mowing the lawn. That's active learning, right?
But if I narrowed it down, I can't remember exactly. It was like
I like how there's categories. That's helpful, right?
Yeah, 5 or 6 of those hours was social media apps.
That's rough.
Yeah, so I'm
about the same.
Yeah. So then if I'm spending that much time in a week on social media and I don't have that same metric on Disney Plus or Netflix or, anything else that I watch on TV, it's easily, I'm losing a full productive day of my life consuming, and I'm not contributing or I'm not doing something back. Right. And then if I'm going to do that, then I need to contribute to me. So take those same hours and like I said, being full transparent. So one of the things I've changed up is I have to spend time in my yard 1 hour of a day. You got to exercise an hour a day.
Yeah.
I have to go outside and spend an hour a day in my yard, getting
Beautiful.
to know my yard again, if you know what I mean. And if it
that's a win-win. That's the best thing about that. Yeah, I don't pay to go to a gym. I work really hard in my yard. Yeah. 100%.
No, I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction landscaping and working in the yard and pruning and weeding and whatever. In fact, I got to clean out the gutters. It's not that I don't want to do that, but it's got to be done.
I bought gutter guard and I bought a leaf blower. So I went the easy route on that one. But speaking of, I need to get up there with the leaf blower. Yeah. So if there was an animal that personified you, would you be able to name it out loud? Do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Let's move on.
Animal? Gosh.
It's a real tough one.
No,
People have called me out on going super woo-woo with that. They're like, how dare you ask me that?
I have never given that question.
They're like, what is this, learning styles? I had Mo Ash yell at me. He's like, what, are you going to talk about learning styles next? Like, what the hell is this? He was mad.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ponder that and get back to you on a text message.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people just say dog or cat. And so I don't accept that anymore. Because dogs and cats.
No, it would be probably some exotic, weird animal. See, now I'm going to overthink it. I'm going to go
exotic, weird animal. Yeah, I think for me, it's just monkey because monkey is my
curiosity.
It's my Chinese zodiac. And then the curiosity. And I think I'm a little bit touched with ADHD. I'm not diagnosed, but I'm kind of everywhere at once.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we would have? Wrap things up.
Batman. We didn't talk about Batman.
Let's talk about Batman. If you could be Batman for the day. Wasn't there a quote you shared this week? You shared a quote about Batman.
I can't remember. I got a sign over on the wall.
You might as well be yourself.
Always be yourself, and if you can't be yourself, always be Batman. I have a Batman flashlight.
That looks like a Lego figure. That's a flashlight as well. Kevin Thorn is holding up a Batman Lego, and lights shoot out of his bottom of his feet. So those like the rocket launchers that he uses to fly that I'm not aware of?
No, Batman doesn't have a rocket launch. That's Iron Man.
That's what I thought. I'm like, why does he have lights coming out of his toes? It's different.
That's my Batman flashlight. And then I got hold on right here. I got my Batman clock, digital clock.
Yeah. Also looks very Lego Batman. That was a solid film. My friend told me I had to go see that. And I was like, no, that was a good movie. Lego Batman was funny.
Yeah. And then, they're all like Lego minifigure, but a keychain flashlight and a clock. And then I've got picked up this one. Yeah. Cause I'm a big Batman fan.
See that?
This is called Batpool.
Well, yeah, that's just Deadpool, but it's like Batman, but it's a Deadpool color theme.
Yeah. It's a Deadpool, but dressed like Batman. Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah. We said it reverse, but I think they're both accurate.
No, but I have a dilemma.
What's your dilemma?
The new Batman Dark Knight Rises video game just released about a week ago.
Okay.
I have an Xbox One.
Okay.
It won't play on an Xbox One. You need an Xbox X or Steam. I could get it on Steam, but I'm not a laptop gamer. And I can connect my controller to a laptop and then stream it up to the TV and play that way. But the resolution is not going to be the same streaming it up to a TV like that.
There might be a lag too. I'd be afraid of a lag.
So then I was just telling my wife the other day, and she asked me, she goes, my birthday's coming up later this month. She says, what do you want for your birthday? I said, I want the new Batman video game. She goes, oh, okay. Well, how much is that? I said, well, I think it's $60 or you can get the pro one for like $90,
And a new Xbox.
And a thing. She goes, okay, well, I said, well, it's kind of a problem. She goes, what's that? She goes, even if I bought the game, I can't play it. It won't play on the old system. I got to upgrade my console. She goes, oh, how much are those? I said, I don't know, maybe $500. She goes, wait a minute. You want to spend how much on a video game?
Play a single video game?
I say, and then I give her one of those deer and caught headlight looks. What are you talking about?
You asked.
What's the problem? So needless to say, I've yet to acquire this new Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, a new gaming console to play the game.
I focus as being a retro gamer because it just saves me so much money. Just find ways to enjoy the PlayStation 1 games that I have.
Yeah.
I'm just not current. I think I shared with you today anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a big video gamer.
Okay.
And again, it comes down to time, right?
Time. That's what I was just going to say is how do I have any time?
It's like,
I have a show called GAMELAYER and I don't even play video games really. I have 2 kids. How am I going to play video games?
I feel guilty when I sit down and play a video game.
Well, I play, and they want to play games with me. So that's what it becomes, right? It's different. Like I can make time to play Mario Kart 8 with you on your Switch because we got all four controllers and now we can all play together.
That's different.
Now it's a couch co-op. That's completely different.
That's completely different.
That's
right? But if it's just you kind of like wasting time at
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
No.
That's I don't have time
for that.
I got no time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that, Dr. Kevin Thorn. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that, sir?
LinkedIn, probably the easiest and most efficient way. Just by the same name.
So LinkedIn /in/Nuggethead.
/in/Kevin Thorn, one word. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate your time.
This has been fun.
We're going to wrap things up.
You're very welcome.
Touched on a little bit of
everything. So if you ever come back this way, let me know if I ever come down. We were actually, like I said, we were just on our way through St. Louis a couple of months ago.
Cool.
In Herman.
Well, next time, let me know.
How far are you from Herman?
Oh, we're pretty close to Herman, actually, because we're on the west side of St. Louis. So it's easy to get out to Germantown, the wine country of Missouri. We ride our bikes out there a lot. It's the Katy Trail gets out there. So
yeah, you should ride up to the top of that hill that we had to drive up.
I might pass. Yeah, I have a trail bike, and I'm not Yeah, I might pass on that.
I even asked them, I say, so in the winter, do you guys close down for the season? Because I can absolutely see how it would be virtually impossible to drive up this hill on snowy, icy
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah, Herman is hilly.
No,
Yeah.
it's like, it's just, no, it's a heated driveway. It all melts. So the whole road going up there is all heated. It's like, well, of course it is.
To be. You know,
Yeah.
I work with the National Association of Electrical Distributors, and I actually just entered the new code for heated pavement into our training content. So
No way.
it's just a random segue that you touched on there. Yeah. It was really hard to find a good picture of that stuff. Oh my gosh, because it's like this weird mesh that lays under cement. So how do you... Like, there's just no good picture of the product itself to use for your job aid. The problems of an LD. Yeah.
The struggle is
An
real.
ID. The struggle is real for the ID. Yeah. I think we'll leave it there. That's a good way to end the show. Thank you,
Yeah, the
Dr.
next
Kevin.
one I see, hey, did you ever get find a picture of that?
No, I just drew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made it up. I don't even know what it looks like.
That's a great way to end the story.
Yeah. God knows, and I don't. And that's why I'm immortal. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Game Layer. This is David Colmer reminding you to stay present and never postpone joy. You can find transcripts of the show at gamelayer.fm. GAMELAYER.fm. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Thanks for listening. Now go. Play.
I play chess.
I play Scrabble.
I play fauteuil. I play everything.
Hide and seek with my kids.
I play the piano.
I play board games.
I play guitar.
I smash it on the pitch.
I play chess.
I play Othello.
I play all the Marios.
I play Success Strategist.
I play Street Fighter.
Final Fantasy.
I play games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention.
There are many ways to play. Going for a walk together, doing nothing together is also playing. Anything that can cultivate your feeling of joy, relaxation, where you feel more recharged after doing that thing. And I think you can consider as something that we play with. I'd like to move to the domain of play